Everything in life comes from working with and for other people. Whether it's the food that we're eating, the lessons we're learning, we've learned and grown in life through other people and working with them and taking actions for them. Now that might sound like an odd thing to start this video with, but just be with it for a second. See, if you really understand that everything that's happened in your life has happened interacting with one other person, and in your interactions with them and for them, things have occurred, often which you never would have predicted at the start of that process. You might start to consider how you are operating in the world differently in your life and business. And I'm saying this because one thing people are doing a lot right now is talking about who they are and what's important, talking about what they do. And how we talk about that is part, I think, of an interesting opportunity and a challenge. Many people will tell you what they do, and I'll give you a thing to think about in just a moment. But equally, the way that we're listening to what's being said is also, I think, part of the challenge. See, if you ask a question, you might get an answer, and the answer you can choose to interpret from any of the infinite perspectives that you are willing to try out. But possibly, the way you're listening and filtering doesn't give you access to the value that's really being there in what they say. And if I gave you the chance right now to share your 1 minute, your pitch it live moment, if you could pitch you and who you are and what you do to the entire world, do you have that down? How many of the, say, 8 billion people do you think would actually understand fully what you do and the value you could bring to them in their lives? Now, I've been into this subject for decades, if not longer, and I'm still realizing the massive opportunity if we change how we are, how we're listening, and how we're really connecting, how we're relating to each other. So I promised to give you an example to think about, and that's this one. I want you to imagine somebody who is a baker. They bake bread, and you meet them, and they say, in answer to the question, what do you do? They say, I'm a baker. Now, would you go, got it, you bake bread, I've handled that. Would you ask them a few more questions, like, do you bake cakes? They go, yes, sure. Now, do you know who they are? Do you know what they do? Possibly that's one of their businesses, one of their interests. They're clearly more than that as a human being. And it's not good or bad, right or wrong, but you wouldn't know if they baked one loaf of bread a day, if they were a master baker that had spent years, decades, mastering their craft, training other people. Possibly they were feeding children around the world that were in need. Possibly they're working with the royalty around the world and A-list celebrities. You see, the challenge is that these questions of what do you do in this little short window, this small attention span we give people to share who they are and the value they bring, is required because there's so much overwhelm. Everybody's searching and scrabbling to try and get connections and get sales. And my experience has been my most amazing relationships have often happened over time, getting to know people through often decades, who they really are behind the label, because that skill they have in one area might not be the whole thing. Let's go back to the example of the chef. They say, or the baker, I bake bread. Now, that is possibly what they do. That's a label of some of what they do. But maybe they've also understood marketing and sales, business and branding. Maybe they've built up great customer service. Maybe they're feeding elderly people or families and building a lifelong relationship that turns into the kind of excitement that can transform communities. Maybe they just said, well, I go to get a pot, I put some water, some flour in, I mix some yeast in, I leave it, put it in the oven. Well, that's also what they do, but it's not the whole story. And by the way, I'm not a master baker in any way, shape or form. I have made bread a few times. And do you get what I'm pointing at? Do you see something in this video that you may not have thought you'd see? And why the simple question of what do you do almost sets people up for failure. It sets people up for a problem. And I had it earlier today. Somebody was asking me, like, so what courses can you train people in? What do you focus on? And she's new to the online areas of business. She had a good business herself in Canada before, but is new to online business. So she's thinking from the perspective of somebody having one course they do or one thing they focus on. And I do focus. Those that know me know I'm very, very focused on what we do. But we've also been around a long time. We're not brand new to starting, teaching and training entrepreneurs and building businesses and adding value. So we've got fingers in many pies. We actually have activities ranging from communication to mindset to business to web marketing to system to software to education. Literally every area of humankind that's ethical and creative, we have invested time, energy and relationships in learning about and studying and bringing that together. But could you tell me that I'm simply a Tai Chi instructor or an accountant? And even if I said that, would it answer all the questions? The truth of it is we as human beings are far more than our labels. And as we label ourselves, we also want others to label us. And that's useful because it lets us engage with people. You have a plumbing problem, you want to find a plumber. There's a value and efficacy, a workability in that. But it also, I think, misses something out that I've got really clear about, is a possibility, something that might hopefully open up in the future. Hope you enjoyed that video, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.